What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Under Diesel here. And today we are going to be talking about the Southeast Division here in the NBA. We got the Atlanta Hawks, the Charlotte Hornets, the Miami Heat, the Orlando Magic, and the Washington Wizards. So let's just get started right here. And let's start off with the Atlanta Hawks, who won 29-53 last year. We obviously know about their talent. Trae Young, John Collins, Vince Carter, his 22nd season in the NBA, the only player in NBA history to play in 4 different decades, which I believe is one of the most unreal things here. I believe this year is his last season. And then there's obviously Alex Len, the big man. And, I do like some of their draft picks. DeAndre Hunter out of Virginia, who was, in my opinion, the MVP of the national title game last year. Hit key shots down the stretch against Texas Tech in that national title game. I do like him. I like their second. I like their second pick. Their Cam Reddish out of Duke. A lot is left to be said about Cam Reddish. We know he is a great shooter. We know he's got the height. But can he be a consistent jump shooter in the NBA? There was a lot of inconsistency with him as a jump shooter in college at Duke in his one season there. So the question is, can he be a more consistent jump shooter in the NBA? And I believe he will be a more consistent jump shooter. We know about their acquisitions. They acquired Evan Turner, Alan Crabb, Jabari Parker, which I think is a nice pickup, and Chandler Parsons. They did lose Taurean Prince. Kent Bazemore is now I believe with the Portland Trailblazers now. They did lose Dwayne Dedman and Omari Spellman as well. But, I think Trae Young is going to have another great and fantastic year. He's going to be a potential all-star this year if he puts up the numbers like he did last year. They finished off the season strong last year, even though they only won 29-53. I do have this team trending up, but not trending up to the point where they're going to make the playoffs this year. I have them right now as my prediction, 33-49. So I have them 4 wins more than what they did last year with their pickups. Like I said, I love the pickup of Jabari Parker. We know he was with Chicago last year. He had good numbers with Chicago last year, but I think now that he's got a little bit more talent around him, not saying Zach LaVine and Wendell Carter and those guys aren't enough talent in Chicago, I think this is going to be a little bit more of a step up for him. And I could be wrong about that. This could be a step down for him because, like I said in my last episode, I have Chicago winning 36 games and could potentially make the playoffs this year if they catch a hot streak. But I don't think they'll make the playoffs. But I think if Jabari Parker stayed on Chicago, I would probably have Chicago as a playoff team, as an 8 seed, a potential 8 seed in this year. But now he's with Atlanta. And like I said, I have him at 33-49 this season. Moving on to the Charlotte Hornets, we know they got Nicholas Batum, Miles Bridges, Malik Monk, and Cody Zeller as their key guys that are back this year. They did draft P.J. Washington out of Kentucky, who I think has a lot of upside to his game. And they did draft one of the Martin brothers, Cody Martin, and they drafted Jalen McDaniels out of San Diego State University. They did add Terry Rozier, but my problem with them adding Terry Rozier is now Terry Rozier is the 45th. And what I mean when I say this, he's the 45th most paid player in the league, and his plus minus is what is in the bottom half of the league. It's like 200th plus in plus minus. And now you're going to pay this guy starting, you're giving him pretty much starting pay pretty much as a starter. And he's not putting up the statistics that we thought he's going to put. Now, don't get me wrong. Terry Rozier, I think, was a great player for the Boston Celtics, especially that year when Kyrie Irving was out. He put up big numbers. I think he averaged 16 a game, hit big shots for that team in that playoff run. And we're talking about 2-3 possessions away that that Celtics team was in 2018 to being in the NBA Finals and going up against Golden State. That would have been one of the most craziest things ever. And honestly, I would have rather have seen the Celtics play the Golden State Warriors that year because we all know what happened. Cleveland got swept in the NBA Finals that season. and the rest is history. So, but moving on from that, we know they lost Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker's now with the Boston Celtics. They did lose Frank Kaminsky. Tony Parker has retired, and Jeremy Lamb is now gone. The product out of the University of Connecticut. He's now gone as well. But with that, I mean, the Hornets took a big step down this year. Last year they were just outside of playoff contention. I think they were like the 9th or the 10th seed last year. They were that close. They were a couple of games out of playoff contention last year. This year, I have them at 22-60. I believe they will be a lottery draft pick in next summer. So 22-60 is my prediction for them. Moving on to the Miami Heat, we have Goran Dragic, Kelly Olynyk, Udonis Haslem, who's still playing. I believe this is his 18th or 19th season in the NBA. There's Derrick Jones Jr. and there's James Johnson. They did pick up Tyler Hero, who is a good pickup for this Miami Heat team. I've watched all of this. I've watched most of Tyler Hero's high school tapes. Great shooter, can get to the rim, has great dribbling ability. But the other question is, can he be a consistent shooter? He has shown signs of being a consistent shooter in the preseason here. I think there was I know there was one game in the preseason where he had 5 threes in the third to start the game or something like that. He got off to a very quick and very fast hot start. The question is, can he keep up that consistency for an 82-game season? Only time's going to tell. We know they added Jimmy Butler, and then they added Myers Leonard from Portland. I love the pickup of Jimmy Butler. This team is trending upward just slightly. I do have the Miami Heat making the playoffs. We know they lost Hassan Whiteside and Josh Richardson, and Dwayne Wade's now retired. But with the addition of Jimmy Butler and Myers Leonard, I do believe that this team will make the playoffs because of Jimmy Butler's leadership and his his prowess on the defensive side of the ball. And I have them at 43-39 this season. That's why I have them. Moving on to the Orlando Magic. There's Mo Bamba, Aaron Gordon, who's got potential upside to be an all-star, a perennial all-star if he puts up, more consistent numbers. Terrence Ross, who's always been a great shooter. Nikola Vucevic and Evan Fournier. I think this Orlando Magic team will make the playoffs as well this season. I believe right now I have them as a 7 seed right now in the playoffs. But with that being said, for me personally, I do believe that, they did add Al-Farouq Amino from the Portland Trailblazers. They did lose Timothy Mozgov, but Timothy Mozgov has been a no-name player since his days in Cleveland when they won the title in 2016 with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. He had big games in that season, in that NBA Finals. And since then, he's just been a rotating big man, a backup big man for teams. And he's been switching teams left and right the last 3 or 4 seasons. So, but I have the Orlando Magic. They won 42 games last year, 42-40 last year. Now I have them at the same spot, 42-40. They will make the playoffs. And I just like Aaron Gordon. I like Evan Fournier, who's always been a great shooter, can get to the rim, does a great job of drawing contact. And Terrence Ross has always been a good shooter too. We also forget there's DJ Augustine on that team. DJ Augustine is a good player as well as a solid point guard for that team. So like I said, Magic 42-40 this upcoming season. And last but not least, we have the Washington Wizards. We all know about John Wall, who had the Achilles injury. He is supposed to be back for this season. Bradley Beal is back. Both of them, I believe Bradley Beal signed a max if I remember correctly, it was a supermax contract. I could be wrong on that. I know he did sign an extension with the Washington Wizards. They did get Hamuchi Mara out of Gonzaga. I thought that was a great draft pick. I think he's gonna surprise a lot of people, even though, in my opinion, the West Coast Conference is not the best conference. Is not one of the best conferences in college basketball, but I do believe Hamuchi Mora is gonna have a good season. He's gonna put up good numbers, and I believe he's gonna surprise a lot of people. They did add CJ Miles. They did add IT, Beadrins, and Mo Wagner. But, you know, they did lose Thomas Satoransky. You do lose your consistent shooting and your consistent scoring with Jeff Green. They lose Bobby Portis. They lose the defender and Trevor Ariza. They lose Dwight Howard, a big man, and they lose Kelly Oubre Jr. They do lose him as well. I think they lost him in the middle of last year to the Phoenix Suns. So now it's like, I don't have the Washington Wizards making the playoffs, period. I have them at 30-52 this season. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. Don't get me wrong, John Wall and Bradley Beal, great talents. That talent is going to win them games this year, but not to the point where they're going to make the playoffs. I don't see Washington coming even close. With all the talent they lost last season, over the offseason, and the talent they've added, unless IT puts up big numbers like he did in that season with the Boston Celtics, averaging 29 a game, I highly doubt IT will ever come close to those points per game ever again after that hip injury. So with that being said, 30-52 is where I have the Washington Wizards right now. But that's all I have for you guys here on the Southeast Division, and that wraps up the Eastern Conference. In the next episode, you will see the Northwest Division. That's the next division I'm going to be talking about, starting off with that Western Conference with the Nuggets, Timberwolves, Thunder, Blazers, etc., etc. You will find out what my predictions are on those teams. Stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for your time. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like the video. Please comment below on what you guys think of my predictions here in the Southeast Division and what teams might surprise you and might surprise everyone else and make the playoffs. But thank you guys so much for your time. Please subscribe to the channel. I will see your faces in the next video. Deuces.